Crypto products are unregulated and could be highly volatile. Please be aware of the risks before investing.
राज, बाबूजी के आशीर्वाद से हमने अपनी नई शुरुआत तो कर ली, पर अपना फ्यूचर प्लान कैसे करें?
बड़े-बड़े शहरों में ऐसी छोटी-छोटी बातें होती रहती हैं।
Looking for perfect start? Get a Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
जब मैं तेरी उम्र का था ना, तो एक सक्सेसफुल करियर, लॉन्ग टर्म प्लानिंग सब रेडी करके रख चुका था। और एक इन महाराज को देखो, पूरा दिन फोन में लगा रहेगा।
दैट प्लानिंग तो मैंने भी कर रखी है, Unocoin के साथ।
नए जमाने के साथ नई चीजें आजमाएं। Looking for Bitcoin? Download the Unocoin app.
Guys, we really need to work hard. This wasn't a good quarter. Tell me, are you happy with this?
Unocoin.
Want to earn Bitcoin? Just grab your phone and shake it. Download the Unocoin app.
Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin.
Get a systematic buying plan from the Unocoin app to get your Bitcoin today. Download the Unocoin app.
Okay, once again, welcome everyone to Unocoin's weekly live telecast where we talk about different topics. And today we are going to be talking about countdown to Bitcoin halving, something that we are all looking ahead to. And for that, we have our favorite speaker when we talk about Bitcoin, Mr. Sunny Ray, the president and the co-founder of Unocoin. Hi, Sunny, how are you feeling?
Oh, I'm feeling great, right? I mean, there's only one topic you and I talk about every time, and it's Bitcoin. And yeah, things are progressing nicely, you could say, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. I mean, just yesterday, day before yesterday, actually, when Bitcoin hit 50K, people were all over the Twitter. They were like, oh my God, this is happening, this is happening. And then again, a lot of people started talking about it. Next day, we saw it hit 51K. And then finally, the market cap of $1 trillion. So, I mean, that's huge.
That's
I mean,
huge. Yeah. Yeah. So many landmarks.
so many
So, yeah. Yeah,
interestingly,
go on. Sorry. Go ahead.
interestingly, this is much more than a lot of countries' GDPs, a lot of major companies' total market cap, and people still. What do you feel when people still look at Bitcoin as something very speculative, very scammy in India when it comes to it? How do you feel, because you have been in the space for so long now?
I mean, I think that's probably is an opportunity. Meaning, if you see something that most people don't, that's probably a good sign, right? Because like some of the best opportunities, I think the masses come to it, when the party's kind of over. So I don't know. I mean, yeah, I mean, we've been at this now for what, 10 years, right? We just celebrated our anniversary in December. And I remember in our meetups 10 years ago, right? It was always, see, for us, it was always about just focusing on the people who actually cared about the revolution, right? And so, but now I think it is getting to a tipping point where you have so many people that care that we kind of need to care about the people that don't care. Like, like it's well, what are they thinking? How are they perceiving Bitcoin? I don't know. I mean, I think it's great. I think the ETF thing, right? We talked about it a little bit, but that obviously is a huge, a huge point as well. I mean, I forget, I was reading yesterday something like 5%, I think, of all the Bitcoin, have been eaten up by these ETFs or something like that in the last few weeks since they've gone live. Every day you hear just, new news on BlackRock. And I think the Bitcoin narrative is great, right? And then there's this next thing coming up, the Bitcoin Halving, which we're going to talk about today. So I think things are great. Yeah. And the thing I like about the Bitcoin Halving is that, we're going to get to talk about Bitcoin itself, not necessarily what's happening outside of Bitcoin, but the inside of Bitcoin. And that's where you start to realize why so many people are excited about Bitcoin. And I think the halvening speaks to like one of the most important things about Bitcoin. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, Sunny. And it's very interesting how just this morning news came in about recession hitting multiple economies. Started with the UK, and now we see Japan also slipping through. We now know that Germany is the third largest economy, and all of this happening. And since we know Bitcoin as something that is hedge against inflation. It was created, after the traumatic recession of 2008. So, like, do you think this will be a major catalyst driving more people towards Bitcoin if, this goes more global?
Yeah. I mean, I always say, right, in all our conversations, like I always, no matter what the topic is of the week, I always try and bring it back to like these fundamentals, which is that Bitcoin is. And by the way, I've been noticing your Twitter handle. You've been tweeting a lot about Bitcoin, so I'm very proud of you. I think you're going in the right path. No, I think yeah, this happening. Maybe we should talk about it a little bit. Like, what is it? Like, it's like, let's say someone's listening to us for the first time ever. They've never heard us. Like, what? Maybe you try and explain it. I probably explained it about 100 times, but do you want to try and explain the happening, and then we
I
just talk about it? Yeah.
Not as big of an expert as you are, but then yeah, I can still try. So basically, every 4 years, approximately every 4 year, after 200 and 2,10,000 blocks are mined, that's when halvening happens, and this is potentially to reduce the supply of Bitcoin, where the rewards of miner is also halved along with the supply of Bitcoin. This kind of creates a demand and supply pull where the supply is reduced, and amid that, the sentiments, all the other factors, including also are contributing to the demand. And this year ETF as well. I mean, I concluded it in a nutshell. I don't know, I am sure there are so many other things which, Sunny, I think you can cover.
Yeah, no, I think you touched on the high level points, right? I mean, I'm trying to remember when Bitcoin first started. Was it oh my God, was it 50 Bitcoins every 10 minutes that would come out? Right. And then 4 years later, the protocol itself, has this kind of baked into its like very essence, right? Where this what we're talking about, this happening, is literally part of the protocol. It's part of the Bitcoin protocol. And when people talk about Bitcoin being scarce, right, which is really like, if you're listening about Bitcoin for the first time, it's kind of like, how can anything digital be scarce? I just copy pasta, said, you can create copies of things on the internet. So the big kind of innovation between Bitcoin, one of the big things is the fact that it's scarce, and its scarcity is reinforced by the number of Bitcoins that get released. So again, after the first 4 years, instead of 10 or 50 Bitcoins coming into existence every 10 minutes, it got halved to 25, and every 10 minutes only 25 Bitcoins would come, and then it was brought down to 12 and a half, and I think now we're at the, if I'm not mistaken, the fourth happening, which will be 6.25 Bitcoins every 10 minutes that will come out. Yeah, and so if you remember math class, like if you were to kind of draw the supply of let's say US dollars over the last 100 years, it would start here and it would just start going up towards infinity. Whereas Bitcoin, the supply of Bitcoin starts at zero in 2000 whatever 18 19, and then essentially it starts going like this, and then it flattens out, and then it starts to hit an asymptote, right, which is like a sort of line at 21 million Bitcoin. So this halvening, if you kind of follow it through, right, every 4 years, it's at about year 2140 that you start to see that all 21 million Bitcoins have been mined. But again, it's got this beautiful supply curve that limits the number of Bitcoins that will ever be in existence. And so to go back to your original point, how, as you hear about recessions, as you hear about inflation, right, that's been a big theme. Oh my God, did you see the video? I forget which central bankers it was, maybe Australia or somewhere. It was all over the internet. They were like, essentially just laughing. They're like, we just, central banking is a great business to be in. We just print money type of thing, and people believe it or something. You saw that? Yeah, this week. So and now we live in a different time as well, where maybe these things happen in isolation, but now if it happens in one corner of the earth and it's funny and it's viral, and now all of a sudden someone on the other side of the earth is talking about it and hearing about it. So I think it's hard to hide from the truth, and I think money is one of those truths that most of us have hidden from, right? Like I always say, is like nobody teaches us about money. Like no, our parents don't teach us, our teachers don't teach us, our friends don't teach us, the news doesn't teach us, right? So if it's so difficult to understand something so basic, then I can still see it taking quite a bit of time, right, before the masses wake up. But when the price of bread, the price of milk is going up, like at the grocery store, you're forced to think about it. Like it's not that you want to think about it because it's like nice to fascinate about. It's like, oh my God, what's happening? And then so yeah, I do think that will lead more and more people to ask themselves, is there a way out? Is there like a life jacket or a lifeboat of some sort anywhere? And people will most likely first find themselves to something like gold, which has been around for 10,000 years. But we talk about the supply of gold, right? People say, well, why is gold so beautiful and so magical, and why has it played the role of money for so long? Well, because it's limited. But it is, but the supply isn't truly known. For example, just in India alone, you had so many temples where they just like uncover ungodly amounts of gold, right? Or maybe Elon Musk figures out how to land a spaceship on a comet and now get gold. So Bitcoin, once again, it's like it's verifiably limited, and I think this happening speaks to that. So, yeah.
Interesting, Sunny. And no matter how many times we talk about it, every time there's something new that we can pick from Bitcoin. And lately, I've been listening because I'm not getting a lot of time. So I'm listening to the audible version of the Bitcoin Standard, and there's something that I recently, I think I did give it a read, but maybe I happened to forget about that particular point, which is stock to flow ratio about a particular asset before considering it to as a store of value, or something to keep your money in. Stock to flow ratio is very important, again with the supply cut down pattern of Bitcoin, right? This stock to flow ratio part is very nicely followed. I'll not really go in depth with this, and I think our audience can go and check out the Bitcoin standards to understand this better. So we have a few questions over here, Sunny.
Mhm.
Malika Arjun is asking an interesting question, which you always answer in a very nice way. He's asking, what's the ATH that you are expecting by the end of this month?
Oh my, the all-time high for this month. So that's another 2 weeks from now. I don't know. I don't know. I always refrain from short-term predictions, as I always say. That's like trying to predict the position of an atom or something inside of a glass of water. But I like thinking more in terms of like longer term, and I'm more bullish than I've ever been. I used to think $1 million Bitcoin price would be kind of a target that eventually it would start to flatten out. I no longer believe that. I think that would be the beginning in many ways. So, whether that takes a few years or 10 years or I don't know, 15 years, I don't know exactly. But I also, I look at like Bitcoin is essentially like a thermometer, right? It's like this beautiful way to just tell you what is instead of what's happening in the world, all the crazy money printing and everything. It gives you this way to do a gut check on the rest of the world. And so from that perspective, I don't know, I short term, I mean, it's going up every day. You wake up, it's another $1,000 or something on the Bitcoin price. It keeps going up. I think the next, I don't know, interesting point for me is obviously the last all-time high. uh so I'll just maybe go out on a limb. I don't make short-term predictions, but let's say in the next 2 weeks, I don't know, if maybe Bitcoin, I mean, the way that ETFs are just chomping away at all the Bitcoin, and you look at supply again with the halving coming, it looks like Bitcoin could break past the last all-time high of 65 or whatever it was, 68K. And I think that will be historic and landmark, because I still don't think the masses are talking about Bitcoin. I don't think my mom is calling me or my friend from high school, or that happens when you break past the all-time high, and then you're in that place for a month, 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, and it keeps breaking records. I think that's when things will get really exciting. But yeah, that could happen in the next 2 weeks. But look, Bitcoin is, I was saying to somebody yesterday, I'm like, the best way to predict the Bitcoin price is to think really, really, really hard about what you think it'll be, and then it'll be the opposite. Yeah, that's my best solution. Yeah, but it's literally impossible.
Absolutely, Sanya, I agree. And something that I would like to tell Malika Arjun here. Lately, since I got some time, I was attending a lot of spaces that were like Bitcoin only. And I got to, obviously, I had this in the back of my mind for myself, where I would not want to sell my Bitcoins at any point of time because I have understood Bitcoin. But something that I noticed is people are too much, like, I mean, if I have to put it in a word, it's very shallow. Like the approach people have towards Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies as a whole, cryptocurrencies I wouldn't include, but Bitcoin per se is very, very shallow, which is very price oriented. I feel like people need to learn more about money and then Bitcoin to understand what the entire thing is and why Bitcoin or having Bitcoin right now can be so essential. And lately I've been meeting a lot of people as well, Sunny, I think, who got Bitcoin the first time you got introduced to Bitcoin. And I've been asking this crazy question to people: what was the cheapest value of Bitcoin, and what is the cheapest Bitcoin that you have purchased?
I have a random question for you. How
Uh,
did you and I meet?
Bitcoin.
Right, at a Bitcoin event? No.
Yeah.
I'm curious, what brought you to our meetup? This is in our office, right, in Bangalore. So I'm just curious, what caught your attention initially? Was it just, I don't know, random, or?
So honestly, back in my college days, I used to do a lot of internships, and I used to get these content writing internships on different cryptocurrency news sites and all of that. So that's how I first got introduced to Bitcoin and cryptocurrency when I attended a live event, Demystifying Bitcoin by Kathy Wood, Elon Musk, and Jack Dorsey online. So that was during the pandemic. So I was watching this, I was covering this one event live, and it was very interesting the way it went. And that was the first time I felt like, okay, this is something interesting. But then again, it was too technical, and I was completely into the Indian politics kind of reporting back then. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it for some time. I'll see how it goes. Moving forward, I kept getting stuff in the space only. So I obviously had to do a lot of research around writing whatever content I had to. And I got too immersed in it. And then I finally understood Bitcoin, like after a span of 7 to 8 months. Like I finally understood what Bitcoin is. And then, I was again freelancing. I was in Bangalore. I saw this on Meetup that there's this event happening, Bitcoin event. And I was like, okay, this seems really interesting, because I knew about you and Satvik long back, because I think I wrote one article during my college days as well on Unocoin, that I think whole court case thing with the blanket ban. So I knew you guys and I saw you over there. I'm like, this is interesting. And I just came, okay. It was very far away from my place in Bangalore, but I was still like, okay, let's go. Over there again, Satvik was too kind to spare some time to give me a few bites for an interview. I talked to you as well a little. I quoted you as well in the article that I wrote. And eventually I landed in Unocoin. So yeah, I would say my mainstream journey into Bitcoin and cryptocurrency world started with Unocoin. Yeah, but somehow, I was just into it. Maybe I feel like somehow I was sent to this space. So very recently, just yesterday I tweeted about when the 1 trillion mark was hit. I was like,
Mhm.
I feel like I need to start thanking God for making me intellectually capable to understand Bitcoin. Because, not I can't recall one single person from my batch in school, in college, who maybe talk about this, who maybe have any knowledge on this. So I feel like it's an exceptional thing where I am, getting a chance to understand something. It's very rare.
I'd encourage you, as you continue on your journey, to focus on Bitcoin, or at least keep that as 80% of your kind of like the content and everything. Because yeah, you're seeing, right? I think you see the light that it's, and again, not to say that other things aren't interesting, but Bitcoin is by far the most interesting thing, like, of our lives. Potentially, I mean, there's so much still left, so who knows. Now you have AI and crazy stuff happening, right? Maybe we'll go to Mars someday, but I think in terms of freedom, in terms of questioning the status quo, in terms of doing something that's, like, I don't know, intellectually rebellious, I don't know, it's just it's to me, it's just the most beautiful, kind of. And it's like peaceful, it's not like violent, it's like, I don't know, Bitcoin is, I think, the most amazing thing happening. So back to Bitcoin Halving. What else should we talk about? Because I think, is that the topic? You said you had a bunch of topics, right? One
Yeah,
trillion.
we're going to be talking about a lot of different things. And
Mm.
obviously these price actions keep happening. Since you have been in the space, nobody knows better than you that price have just stopped affecting you, these fluctuations, these things. And I very recently realized that post ETF, where I was like, oh, okay, whatever, it's going down, it's going up.
Yeah.
I know what I have to do, SBP, and I'll be good. So,
SBP, dollar cost average.
uh-huh.
That's it. That's it. That's the most important thing, right? Just like, that's how you divorce emotion from the equation, and you just, like, become zen. You just start dollar cost averaging. Yeah. That's smart. And then focus on your craft, right? Which is, creating videos, creating content, and earn as much Bitcoin as you can. Yeah. And don't spend it, and live on the
Actually,
Bitcoin standard.
that is something that I have very stuck in my mind. Like my mom was also, she sent me some money, just to invest my money into Bitcoin. So instead,
Wow. Oh my. Okay.
so surprisingly, she has been investing in Bitcoin since 2019, and I never knew about it.
Have you
She
taken the cold wallet approach yet? Have you acquired a
No, no.
cold wallet?
So
That's
she
the
she
next topic you need to focus on, and do, like,
yes,
get yourself a cold card or Trezor or something, and
yes,
start holding your own Bitcoin. And then you're, like, 95% of the way there.
yes.
Good. So your mom's a Bitcoiner now.
Yeah, she's been one since 2019. I never knew about that. I got to know about that very recently, and I'm like, okay, nice.
Nice. You should interview her.
Yeah, I mean, I keep telling her that, why, how, what, when. She's like, I was too skeptical of this on my own. So I just went to some friend's son who knew about that, who was talking about it. So she made him download this app in her phone, like an international exchange. She gave him the money, he transferred it, he bought bitcoins for her. So everything in her phone is done, but she never told anyone because she was a little, scared of telling people, because it was so, thought of as a scam back then. So then now recently that I have moved into this space and I've been talking about it a lot, she's like, there's this investment I have, I want to make more, so just help me out with it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, you start interviewing people her age. That's actually a good idea because, like the way the masses are gonna know, like the kids know, kind of like the young people. No, well, not all of them, but a lot of them know. But it's our parents that, like, most of them haven't gotten the notice yet. Hey, I was gonna ask you a thing. I know today's topic is Bitcoin halving, but you just brought up international exchanges. Did you hear the news about them in the last few weeks or something? Any thoughts on that matter?
I
I saw
feel
some fiery tweets from you, so that's what I'm asking.
See, personally, I believe because not a lot of Indian exchanges, provide self custody. And again, with the ones that have got, I'm not going to take any names here, but the ones that have got great volumes, great number of people trading on it, I see their pain because I know that their money is stuck over there. And they can only withdraw it if they convert it to INR. So they have to eventually sell their Bitcoin in order to get the money out. Now, this way it's very complicated because at times they also stop INR withdrawals. So whatever options were major people were there, that was on the international exchanges. Again, Unocoin is one of the very rare exchanges in India who allows self custody and crypto withdrawal, and people are constantly getting to learn about this. And I see a lot of people, actually I have been talking about it so much. Now I see so many of the people moving here because they're like, okay, we want a self custody, so we're gonna go here. But again, I completely agree the way they were not complying with the FIU regulations and all the other things that the government had introduced in the past 1 year. It's also difficult for the government to keep a track of things given their skepticism regarding the technology itself. So definitely makes sense. And now that it's all Indian exchanges, I feel like people are very much supposed to incline towards Unocoin and the kind of services that Unocoin has been providing lately. So this is something that I completely feel, and this I have been talking about a lot lately. And do this.
Cool. So, should we go back to the topics?
Yes. Let's take some questions here.
Do you think we answered the Bitcoin halving thing like well? Should we go back to it? Maybe, I don't know. I guess let's just take questions. If people have questions, we
Yes,
can start there.
we'll continue that and we'll talk about that.
Sure.
Crypto Trailblazers is asking here, is this a good time to invest in Bitcoin as the market may go down? Market may go down?
No, the market, no, it may go down. And that's why what we were just talking about 2 seconds ago is the most important thing you could take away. So let's say, I'm just making a number up. Okay. Let's say you have $1,000 that or rupees or whatever, 1,000 units of some currency that you want to put into Bitcoin. Instead of putting it in right now, today, what you can do is you can buy 10 rupees or $10 today and $10 tomorrow and $10 the next day and for the next 100 days, right? So that idea is called dollar cost averaging. On Unocoin, it's called systematic buying plan. I don't know what it's called on other ones, but dollar cost averaging is kind of what, I think a lot of people know of it as. But the idea is you don't know if it's going to go up or down in the short term. Now, if you believe like maybe Shambhavi and I do that in the long term it is going to go up, or the chances are very high because the supply is limited. Like what money has literally a limited, verifiable, like countable, like actual limited supply. I mean, this in itself is what makes Bitcoin so exciting. So and on the flip side, if you're like, oh, Elon Musk is talking about it, BlackRock, the biggest companies in the world, Tesla, nation states are adopting it. Okay, well, maybe more people will start to see this trend. If that's your thesis, then the idea is not to try and make a lot of money tomorrow. The idea is to make sure, that you amass ungodly amounts of wealth over the next 10 years or 20 years by strategically buying a little bit every single day. And I think that is the most best thing that you could do. And then every maybe month, take it out and put it into a cold wallet, like a Trezor, Ledger, ideally a cold card, because I love those guys. And by the way, I didn't send you the picture. I saw Rodolfo and NVK, and after our last session in Costa Rica, and I hung out with them, and oh my God, that was amazing. I went to this event called Bitcoin Jungle, Shambhavi. It was in Costa Rica inside of a jungle. Francis, the CEO of Bull Bitcoin, was like one of the main organizers, and it was like this meditation like center, like in the middle of the jungle, where they hosted this Bitcoin, and it was like we were swimming in rivers, swimming in the ocean, like with Bitcoiners, surfing. I surfed for the first time. I mean, it was phenomenal. Yeah, and just imagine being in paradise with like all of the like top Bitcoin people in the world, or so many of them. It was heavenly. Yeah, it
I'm
was
just so
heavenly.
I'm feeling very jealous of you right now, Sunny.
Next year you got to come out. It was amazing. So yeah, but I did get to see him, and in fact, when I was with NBK, he presented the queue. Like, I mean, presented as in I saw it like with my own eyes. He was showing it off to some people, which I think just released yesterday or something. But it's like, it looks like a BlackBerry, but
Oh yes, yes,
it's
that's a
like
card
a
from you one.
super cool, cold, like a wallet. Yeah, cold wallet.
It's very interesting because even I saw that and I was like, this reminds me of the BlackBerry that my father owned, sometime back.
Totally.
It's so interesting. I feel like with the growth of these technologies, right, the storage systems are advancing way too much, and I think the way at the speed that they all are advancing, it's Sunny. Am I stuck or is that your network? Okay. I think Sunny is stuck for a bit and we'll wait for him to come back. तब तक we'll see a few questions here, whatever we have. Minhas कह रहे हैं यहाँ पे hi Minhas, hope you're doing great. Sahil Kumar कह रहे हैं launch new coins. Sahil, what new coins do you want us to launch? Please tell us, and we'll forward the request to the listing team and they'll take care of it. Good evening. We may see retracement up to 48,000 USD, and then we may not see that level anymore. Sats are becoming very precious, and even DCS BP is becoming costly. True, Abhijit. I agree so much. And how does it matter? Whatever, something that I have learned in my time, that you cannot time Bitcoin. Like, you literally cannot time the market of Bitcoin, no matter how much, unless until you're full time investing your time in this. Okay, Sunny's gonna be 2 minutes because there's some electricity issues, so he's gonna be back very soon. And like I was saying, Abhijit, even for that, right, I feel like you cannot time the market, and something that you can do the best if you have, like, obviously other things to do in your life. If you're a full-time trader, for sure, I mean, look at it all day long. But if you have like a job, a family to look after and everything, I certainly feel like SBP like options are the best of all times. They will help you so much to, be stress free, have a regular investment. And I'll tell you something from my personal understanding of the major folks in the Indian crypto industry who have been in here from the time that Sunny has been here, like 10 years, 12 years now. What they all did is they bought Bitcoins every day. They bought sats every day, and they still continue to do. I see so many of these OGs daily posting about it. Yeah, I bought 0.001 Bitcoins daily. The reason is that they know कि मार्केट को टाइम करना बहुत मुश्किल है, एंड सबसे बेस्ट तरीका यही है कि आप ऐसी एक एवरेजिंग में इन्वेस्ट करो जो कि आप ऑल थ्रू आउट बैलेंस आउट कर सको. Next is my earnest request to you, sir. Please reduce the withdrawal fee of 50,000 sats to the most of 10,000 sats and bring in withdrawal lightning network withdrawal option ASAP for the benefit of plebs like us, the Satoshi stackers. So, Abhijit, I think Sunny is here and he can answer your question. Sunny, can you hear me?
Yeah. Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry
Completely.
about that. Sorry
Oh,
about
that's
that.
right.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. What was the question? Can you repeat it?
Abhijit is asking here, sir, my earnest request to you, please reduce the withdrawal fees of 50,000 sats to add the most of 10,000 sats and bring the Lightning Node withdrawal option ASAP for the benefit of the plebs like us, the Satoshi stack.
We have Lightning.
We have Lightning, but the withdrawal is not yet enabled.
Oh, okay. Okay, sure. Yeah, I'll write a message right now to see. That's why. Why would that be though?
I think there was some technical issues that the tech was facing, and that's why it's getting a little delayed.
Okay, well, we're looking into it, but yeah, we did introduce Lightning recently for that reason to reduce those fees and make it more accessible. Yeah, and I'll definitely look into why we don't have withdrawals enabled. That's weird.
So, Sunny, now coming back to the Bitcoin halving, and there has been, because I've started getting calls from my friends and my peers, and asking me about halving. Okay, because halving has been over the internet for quite some time now, almost 6 months that this is coming. So this very interesting friend of mine asks me this question. Okay, I explain him the whole thing, the whole procedure of how halving happens. Why is there a price pull? Why is there a supply cut? Why is there an increase in demand? The next question he asked me, does this guarantee a price increase of Bitcoin after halving?
Does the what? What does the?
So does halving guarantees a price increase in Bitcoin?
No, no, it does not. And
Yeah.
this is why I was gonna mention it when you talked about stock to flow, um, because what determines price is two things, not just supply, but supply and demand. So if the supply is limited, but the demand goes to zero, then the price of Bitcoin goes to zero. Do you follow me? So
Yep.
so it's determined by supply and demand, just like every other thing in the world is determined by supply and demand. And so the Bitcoin is the same way. So just because the supply is limited does not guarantee that the price of Bitcoin is going to keep going up. But it's interesting. It's one half of the equations, right? So because with our current money system, the supply is not limited. Like they've literally doubled, tripled the money supply in the last few years because of COVID, this, that. They always find a reason to just print more money. So the supply of the fiat system is like trending towards infinity, whereas Bitcoin trends towards 21 million. So but that's one of many, many features and benefits and characteristics of Bitcoin. The fact that it's limited is merely one, right? The fact that it's a peer-to-peer electronic cash like system that it's this network where you can send as little or as much value to another person on earth without a middleman. That's the essence of Bitcoin's value. And because you can not only is there limited number, like there's a limited number of, I don't know, there's limited number of a lot of things in the world, but that doesn't determine the fact that its value will continue to increase. What makes its value increasing is the fact that people value Bitcoin. People see value in it, and they
Yeah.
take their hard-earned money and they buy Bitcoin with it. And now ETFs are buying it, and nation states are buying it, and companies are buying it, and some of the wealthiest people on earth and the least wealthiest people on earth. I mean, it kind of varies quite a bit, but it's like a black hole essentially that's sucking in the world's money. But yet there's only 21 million. So I know the price is determined by supply and demand.
100%. And I think what I also believe, Sunny, lately, because it's been a long time for me working and everything, and something that I believe, because we are getting paid in INR, right, like Indian rupees, and in different countries currency, that is what our salary comes in. I also feel that, with the inflation, with the devaluation of our currency, our efforts or our hard work involved in that job is the same. And we are devaluing that because of, the use of or the way our fiat currency and system is
Yeah.
working. So,
Yeah.
just this, I'm getting these night thoughts and I've been just overthinking them. Another question that a friend asked me, I think, a lot of people, I was a little amazed to hear that question, of course, but then
Hmm.
from a layman's perspective. So he asked me, I mentioned saying that, this is the supply of Bitcoin, this much is lost, this much is there, this much is with
Yeah.
Satoshi's wallet. So he goes on saying, what happens if Satoshi dumps all of his Bitcoins?
What happens if Satoshi dumps all of his Bitcoins? The
Uh-huh.
price of Bitcoin goes down
Yeah.
considerably. Yeah. I think it would have even a bigger effect because people may start to assume that maybe Satoshi lost hope in Bitcoin, right? So who knows? Who knows what would happen? But I think what's even more remarkable is that he hasn't touched any of those coins, and it's
True.
been, he has every incentive to, or she or they or whatever. So and the fact that they've remained anonymous, right? Did you see Jack Dorsey's? There's so much has happened in Bitcoin, right? Every time. But did you see Jack Dorsey's shirt in the Super Bowl?
Satoshi.
Satoshi, yeah, and the number of like people searching the word Satoshi went up like crazy during that time. Anyway, so yeah, so I think it would just, like, again, it's not like Bitcoin is immune to the laws of economics or whatever, of supply and demand. So if somebody with a lot of Bitcoin, I think she has over 1 million Bitcoin. So if they started selling all of it on an exchange, that would create, downward pressure on the price. But it depends. Now, if on the flip side, other people in the world keep buying it, then it might, not go down. But
Yeah.
it would most likely have a little bit of at least short term, maybe midterm bearish sentiment to at least figure out why, he or she dumped all his coins. But maybe he was just ready for him to retire. I don't know, right? But the beauty is you don't need Satoshi. Yeah, like Bitcoin doesn't change. Like, it's still open source. Everything that it says that it is, you can verify, or ask somebody that knows a bit of coding. You can say, hey, is this actually true? And they can check for you and verify that it is. So it doesn't change Bitcoin, but I assume a lot of people would probably start to be like, uh-oh, what's happening?
What I told him per se was, Bitcoin is bigger than just Satoshi now, and
Mm.
because of the network effects. And sometimes I don't know where did that come to my mind. I just said in that moment that adversity is also an opportunity. So I think smarter people will look at it as an opportunity and stack more and more whatever Bitcoins they can, and they'll just it'll balance out the market if that has to happen, because the network effects that Bitcoin has is stronger than only Satoshi. Maybe a lot of shallow people might feel it and might just be like, okay, what's happening? But the people who know about the technicals of Bitcoin, the way it was created and everything, and why is it said to be a hedge against inflation and all of those things, once a person realizes all that, I think despite Satoshi dumping his Bitcoins, not a lot of people are going to follow his path. What do you think, Sunny?
I don't know. I'm not sure, to be honest. I think, but I think that is one of the most. I mean, I keep saying that, about everything about Bitcoin, but I think that's also one of the things that makes Bitcoin remarkable, right? People like the mystery of Satoshi, and it's like, what? He's like, who made this thing? It's like nobody knows. Like, I think that is so cool because I think what it does, and I think Satoshi probably did it for this reason, is that it turns you and Aditya and me and Saif, like all these people, and NVK and Francis, it turns all of us into little mini Satoshis, right? And so he truly decentralizes not just the protocol, but also the idea of Bitcoin and who feels ownership over it. So I mean, I think that's just like amazing that he chose that path. But that's cool that your friends are asking you these questions.
Yeah,
They're interested.
so it was just a random call, and I started talking about what I've been doing. They were all talking about what they are doing after their NIT graduation, this graduation. So it's like, yeah, I'm into this space. You guys are techies. You should know about this, and that's where it started.
I
They
love
started
it.
doing the
Right.
research. It was very interesting. Now we have a question here from Abhijit. Sir, can you tell the probability?
You're going to be getting a lot more calls though as the bull run keeps going. Trust me, it's going to be
True.
crazy. Yeah. Yeah. What
Absolutely.
was the question about what? Or the bull
Abhijit
run?
is asking here, sir, can you tell us the probable date in April when the halving will be happening? How many days are left? I think it's 22nd, right? 22nd April. 22nd or 23rd?
I had my computer and everything crash a few minutes ago. I had everything pulled up. No, I don't remember the exact date. I just know it's in
I'll
April.
quickly check. Halving.
But I don't even think it's like, I don't know. I mean, some people, I don't know. It's so hard to say these things, but I don't even think it's like that the Bitcoin halving will create this giant spike in the price either, right? Like there's actually downsides of the halving as well, which we don't talk about. But for example, if you were a miner, right, and let's say you were mining with X amount of like energy, 100 megawatts of energy or something, and you're mining 100 Bitcoins a day just to keep the numbers simple. All of a sudden, the halving happens, and now you're still spending your 100 megawatts, but now you're only making 50 Bitcoins.
But then again, the price pull is historically speaking.
Hopefully, it goes up. Hopefully, it goes up. But if it doesn't, from the miner's perspective, halving kind of sucks. Like now, that is the essence of Bitcoin, and they get it, and and that's what makes Bitcoin Bitcoin. But from a straight like running a business perspective, I would feel pretty devastated. Now, if the Bitcoin price keeps going up, then great. But if it doesn't, let's say it takes a bit of time, or for whatever reason, something, whatever, China bans it for the 1,000th time, or something crazy happens, and now, Bitcoin goes down. Anyway, so I think it's like there are downsides to this as well, right? It's just, but the on the whole, it's such a compelling story that Bitcoin's limited and this is how it limits. But the point I was going to make is I don't think it's like this singular event either, where once the halving happens, now the Bitcoin price will go up. Why? Because the market knows. Like everybody knows already that the halving is happening. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people know that it's happening. They know that Bitcoin is limited. So some people, like, I don't know, it's like a chicken or the egg thing. Like some people believe that, Satoshi did all of this and kind of in this 4-year schedule, almost so that people would talk about it and it would become a thing. And every 4 years, it would, I don't know. I'm not Satoshi, so I can't speculate, but
Yeah,
it's
and
definitely quite ingenious.
definitely, definitely so. And I think Sunny, for the longest time, I used to think like, Satoshi just sat down for maybe a couple of years, thought it through, created this thing, and disappeared. But very recently, I realized people have been trying to create something like that for a very long time. I think since 1980s or something, people have been trying to do something regarding this similar technology. They did it, they failed. They did it, they failed. And then, of course, Satoshi maybe was a part of it, maybe did a study on whatever has happened, and then he created something that is now something we know as Bitcoin. So, I mean, it takes a lot of time to understand things. And from an Indian perspective, I just don't, I feel like, this is something that in my mind, which I'll do after maybe I have a good amount of money and something. I'll just go from city to city, just talk about Bitcoin, and I'll have people gathered around. Something like maybe you as well did when you were in India back in 2012, 2010. Something like that. I'll go from city to city, maybe pick a shop, create a Luma link or a meetup link, and just talk about Bitcoin over there. Just sit down, talk about Bitcoin, give people education, maybe tie up with some NGOs as well, who have financially challenged people with them, and then I'll go and explain them what is Bitcoin, and in the easiest way possible. Because I mean, I feel like India lacks on the front of financial literacy, and then Bitcoin is something that they need to know about. At least
Why don't you start do you have a Bitcoin show? I mean, I know you're doing a lot of like things now, but like, why don't you just start your own, the Bitcoin show or something? I don't know. The India.
I actually have this in my mind, but for me to, I don't have anything per se to, for these lives. I know that I have to curate topics, have to do this, but for lives, it just takes a lot of guts for you to put out time to do things. And I want to do that most certainly, and it is even my February manifestation to start a Bitcoin show. So hopefully, if it goes right, I'll start it by next week or next to next week or something. That
Good.
is,
Yeah, let me
yeah,
know if you need a co-host or something. Yeah, but I think you'd be great. Yeah, and there aren't that many ladies that are doing Bitcoin only shows. I mean, I'm sure there are, but I couldn't even name, for example, a handful of them.
there's Nancy Brunel that I know of.
Sure. But does she only do Bitcoin or is she crypto?
She does only Bitcoin. So she was
Really?
a
Okay.
yeah,
Good.
she's an Emmy Awards journalist from I
Oh,
think LA or somewhere. And
okay. Name an Indian lady.
now Indian I can't think of.
There you go. There you go. There's your niche. Yeah, I know that's a great idea, but I think a Bitcoin only show. We have indiabitcoin.com. I'm trying
Yes.
to think of what to do with that. So maybe there's an angle there, but any other questions you have stored for us, Shambhavi, for today,
Yes,
or
yes,
anyone
we
else asking anything?
yeah. So I think we have answered all the questions that have come in the comment section, but we have a few questions here. So, Sunny, there's something that we have always talked about is excitement. So, we know with having these and these and these stuff happens. And from the technical perspective, because you were someone who understood the technology of Bitcoin before understanding it from the other perspective, the price side of the things. So, from the technical perspective, what excites you the most about Bitcoin halving?
From a technical perspective, well, I mean, just the sheer fact that like that it's limited, like we talked about earlier. I think the concept of Bitcoin, like you said, it wasn't created, just in a year or two. It was, to me, it feels like Satoshi probably spent like 10 years or something on it, and built off of, the work of like so many others before them, right? Um, and so, yeah, I think, I don't know, and to understand Bitcoin, I think it's so complicated. Like you have to understand, math and computer science and game theory and economics, and like there's just so many different things that need to come together for someone to be able to create it. That I think it's, like I said, I truly think it's one of the most magnificent like discoveries or creations or innovations that we've ever seen. So I'm quite intrigued by it. Yeah, I mean, and to say that I understand even after 10 years, I don't think I get Bitcoin even like 1% of it, to be honest. Like, I think the well goes really really deep, and yeah. So I don't know. I think the fact that, like, I mean, to me again, happening is really like, see, now governments are coming and taxing it, and they're making sure that bad guys can't use it, and this and that, which is great. I think that's awesome. But the one thing that that I've always like kind of felt was unfair was this concept of inflation, because they take advantage of the fact that people don't understand math and supply and demand, and people are very short-term sighted. They don't think long-term and stuff. So they play to all of these disadvantages, and they create a money system where they can just siphon as much of it as they want. I mean, through taxation for sure, but then eventually through inflation, and it's like this hidden like evil tax. And so the fact that, and to me, that in the concept of inflation just felt like I was stuck in the matrix, right? That I couldn't get out, and to think that there was a way out of that paradigm is, to me, one of the most exciting things about Bitcoin, because I never felt like it was going to be, oh, you don't have to pay taxes and stuff, because you do. Like, you're going to have to continue, but it chips away at one of those kind of pieces that keep the old system up, which is, again, inflation, and it calls it out in a very obvious way. And I think and like, it's such a sensitive thing, right? It's like the money you earn is like it's like your life force. Like, it's like the thing that you bring to planet Earth. And like you said, if you're storing that in rupees, and that rupees being deflated away, and it's just like made of paper, and there's these people that can just print as much money of it as, it just feels really unfair when you think about it. And most people don't think about it because we're trained to not think about it. But when you do think about it, it's like depressing. So again, the fact that Bitcoin lets you opt out of that, and is like this ejection seat, this like parachute, this life jacket that gives you hope, I think is, and this happening is really at the heart of that. So yeah, I think Bitcoin in general is super interesting, and I'm 10 years in, and I'm more bullish than I was even when I first got in. So
I think I agree to it so much, and it's such a major event, Sunny. This is the time every 4 years people start talking about Bitcoin, and they're like, okay, it's time to look at it. And then after a few days, or let's say few months, they'll be like, oh, again Bitcoin is dead, crypto is dead, this is dead, this market is dead. I mean, sheer lack of financial literacy, simple as that. And Sunny, so this year 2024 is really big for Bitcoin. It's really big for the industry as a whole, for for miners, for investors, for anybody who's involved in the space in any capacity. And there's so much happening, and it feels like it's every second new things, new things, new things. So, amid all of this, has it been like this for all the happenings that have happened previously, or is this 2024 that's making it a little different and, very fast?
Yeah, every time it's like it's always 10x kind of bigger than the time before. So this time definitely has that feeling. Some people say this might be the last bull run. Some smart people say that, yeah, as well. So just because like we're kind of approaching this like, this escape velocity, right? Like BlackRock, nation states, and I doubt it. I doubt it because I'm confident that that humanity is just going to keep progressing forward. But some people say this might be the last bull run. So if that is the case, then if those people are right, then dollar cost average into Bitcoin is all I can say. Set up your SVP on Unocoin, take possession of your Bitcoin and put it in a wallet that you control. Yeah, and I don't know, that's pretty much all I have. What was your
That's
question again? Yeah,
so.
actually, I just remembered another girl. Bitcoin Magazine, they recently hired a lady. She's from
Oh,
like
okay.
Latin America as well. But someone needs to focus on the India story. I'm telling you, I don't feel like there's enough focus there. And I
There's
feel
not.
Bitcoin and India were made for one another. But there's no face of that. Yeah.
Creating a documentary. I've created like multiple documentaries during my college days because I was into journalism. I feel like if I get all of my friends, like my team members from when I used to create it in college, I'll be able to create a very nice documentary on Bitcoin, on people who are suffering monetarily, and what are the problems, how does it solve it, and everything. I think
That's a
I'll
great
if
idea. Yeah. That's a great idea.
and we can sell it to Discovery for a lot of money.
Or Netflix, make it a 10-part
Netflix.
special, right? Yeah, no, I mean, and someone's got to at one point. I mean, the thing you talked about is super cool, right? I've also been thinking about the Unocoin story, right? Like what
Yeah.
Satvik and Harish specifically have gone through in the last 10 years. There's at least, a couple of documentaries, buried in there. So yeah, no, I think that's a great idea. Like taking all this like stuff that's happening and creating art out of it. Earlier you were saying you wanted to like, one of your visions is to like go to different shops and like just places in India and teach people about Bitcoin. You're kind of doing that right now, right? Like you're streaming and stuff like that. So you're probably showing up in lots of people's pockets, like in their phone and stuff, right? So you're probably not that far from it. Just keep building your audience and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's the goal. This because we are, about to reach the end of our session today. There are three things that I believe in that was taught to me on the first day of my journalism class. That was to inform our duty as a journalist. What was kind of told us on that day was your duty as a journalist is not to just deliver news. It's to inform, to educate, and to empower. So, despite me not being in the mainstream space of journalism, I somehow just can't get these three words out of my system. Like,
That
I'll
those
never be.
those should be your tagline for your Bitcoin show.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
It's
Actually, I had
yeah,
this
just those three
plan.
words. Yeah, that's a very powerful one. Yeah, I can see it now. You should think about it. Like Aditya's doing it, and you see how well he's doing.
Yeah,
But if you focused on something like that and created your own, what I mean, space for it, you could keep doing all the other things and helping Unocoin and companies. But there's definitely a vacuum for that. That would be very, I think, interesting.
that will be indeed. It just, let maybe all of these things will come together with you saying all of this. I feel a lot motivated
And
already.
with the halvening will only
Yeah.
amplify it. So
100%. So I think, Sunny,
cool.
we're reaching our today's end of today's session, and thank you so much. It was a really interesting session. We had a great chat today. Thank you everybody else for joining in. I'm sorry if we were blabbering a lot, and but this is something that you need to learn about. So just come back to this session, understand all that we were trying to explain what Sunny explained. It's very essential for you to understand the core value of Bitcoin if you're in the space. Okay, thank you everyone. We'll see you again next week. Thank you so much, Sunny, for sparing time and coming here and talking about Bitcoin. I'll see you again soon for another episode of Conversation with Unocoin.
Bye bye.
Bye, guys.